So I asked to get started 3 awarenesses. I wanted to see how aware you are. I wanted to see if it was a lot of surface kind of stuff or if there's really some awarenesses, and I have to say, there's some good awarenesses. Another reason I open with this question, 3 awarenesses, stop thinking singular. Stop thinking just one level. Somebody says, how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing good. And you're really not. But give them back 3 answers, really confuse them. And because, let's see, joy, love, and fear. How is that possible? Start feeling into things on multiple levels all the time. And the human is going to kind of resist that. It doesn't really like it. It likes the singular, flat, what are you aware of? Oh, I'm aware of that, I'm kind of tired and kind of bored. Start feeling in, because you could have those levels. This is the and. You could have that level of being frustrated or irritated, but also have levels where you realize there is tremendous change going on right now. The biggest thing I'm aware of with all of you is that you're feeling this kind of dissolving effect, or things moving, you could say breaking down or going away. You almost feel kind of like everything's deteriorating very quickly. And it's not really like what you felt before when you're releasing. This one's a little different. This one's you feel like your parts and pieces are falling off, or things are just kind of coming apart. And that's a very natural feeling right now. Just feeling that, while you're also trying to find, where am I? Where's my core? What's this all about? There's tremendous movement right now that's occurring, particularly as the master, the human are integrating. A lot of old stuff is going away. A lot of the facade that you put up, the identity of yourself is rapidly changing, kind of collapsing. Where in the past that might have really scared you and said, what's happening? Why is my life is falling apart? Right now you have more wisdom. So you're realizing that's what's happening right now, is a lot of this falling away of yourself is actually very, very appropriate. It's actually meant to be. It's actually an indication that you're exactly where you should be right now. So all of you are feeling changes at a level. Not all of you said that, but enough of you did. You're feeling changes because everything is moving, everything is flowing. There's this incredible, some would say almost impossible metamorphosis taking place. Transition, integration, all at the same time. And the human is going to feel out of sorts. The human is going to really wonder what's going on at times, and other times kind of rejoice in it. The human is going to, I would say, going to need to take a long, hot bath, eat your comfort food, sit in front of the telly with wrapped in blankets every once in a while all this is going on. It's an amazing transformation, but what I note, and that I'm really particularly delighted about, is in the past, if this were happening, you would freak out and wonder what's wrong and get all caught up in all that. Now you realize you have an awareness at a level that something is shifting and changing. Not just not where you're going to live or what's your next job, but I mean something within at monumental levels is shifting and changing, and you're actually pretty okay with it. Moments of panic and anxiety, but pretty okay with it all in all. That's a beautiful thing. It means we've come a long, long way. And, well, let's transition into the next part of the talk. Just be with that for a moment. Commune with all the changes going on. Next part of the talk. The human might get a little upset about this. Yeah, for the first time, right? I've said before that you don't really have a destiny. And I loved astrology. I studied it for many, many lifetimes. I loved it. But it's the first time ever publicly admitting this, but I finally threw out all the books, threw them out, got rid of everything about astrology because I got very frustrated after studying it deeply for many lifetimes. I got very frustrated because it didn't explain everything. It wasn't a nice, neat, easy, clean mathematical equation. And I kept on finding things that were wrong with it. Why doesn't this work? If you're a Pisces or you're a Cancer and you're born on these dates, and I'd do all the charts and everything back then. We didn't have your fancy computers. I'd have to do it by hand. I'd do all the charts, and it still didn't make sense. So I finally had to throw them all out. I got sick and tired of it. You know how some of you, perhaps if you're golfers, you golf all your life, and one day you just get so frustrated you take that bag of clubs and throw it into the pond and say, never again, I'm tired of chasing the stupid ball. It was kind of one of those moments, done with astrology. I realized later, for a lot of reasons, is that, first of all, astrology doesn't take into account a lot of things, like past lives. Astrology doesn't take into account points of separation, the awakening, for instance. You really have to factor that in because it changes everything. And astrology doesn't take into account hidden potentials, potentials that are behind the stars, so to speak, that could come out with just a little moving, a little shaking. But astrology also bothered me because many people believed, as I did for a while, that there was a star destiny, that you were destined to certain things based on the stars, based on your birth date and everything else. I actually realized pretty quick that it wasn't a firm destiny, but it was too firm for my taste. Why should one be born under the influence of stars? And I know some of you astrologers out there are screaming right now, but get over astrology. I did. Drop it. I realized that it confined a person, particularly if they really believed in it. And they thought, these are the tools that I have. This is what's going to happen to me in my lifetime. This is what I'm destined to do. A couple of years ago, I said, there is no destiny. There's no destiny. There's no stars that are... You're all the signs and many other signs. They talk about 12 signs of astrology. I discovered, wasn't published ever, but I discovered there was actually 144 and probably many beyond that. So, astrology. So I didn't like the concept that a person was destined. And I know some of you are thinking, well, no, they're just influences. Yeah, but people who really study their own astrology or look at their own astrology then take it as a destiny. I said, there's no destiny. You're free. You are free beings to choose whatever you want. But there's one thing I left out. There's one exception, well, actually 1.5 exceptions to that. And that's one of the things I'd like to talk about today, a soul destiny. And it's not so bad. Some of you are like really feeling anxious and like a soul destiny. Let's start with the premise that you came to this planet, you took on a lot of lifetimes, the human took on a lot of lifetimes of experience. You finally got to the point, maybe it was last lifetime, probably, some of you this lifetime, but you got to the point and said, no more, that's it. I've experienced what there is to experience. I have gone through love and I've gone through hate. I've been a pauper, I've been a prophet, isn't there a song about that? I've been all these things, and I've had it. Most of the time when you said that, it was kind of in disgust. It wasn't like a feeling of bliss and fulfillment. It was like, this is it. This planet sucks. I don't want to be here anymore. That set up this lifetime, changed the dynamics for when you would come in, the family, the path that you'd take, and everything else. Some of you actually didn't hit that point of disgust until this lifetime, maybe when you're in your late teens, early adulthood, or whatever. And he said, "That's it. I'm done. I'm done." That was the human calling out to the master and to spirit, although they didn't realize it at the time, calling out and saying, "Fine. I'm off of this." And you have every right. The human has every right to say, "I'm done with this." Because the master and the I am would never say, "No, you got to go back for more." It's up to the human to say, "I'm done." That began the awakening. That began the awakening. And it was, in a way, for many of you, you in your awakening, you felt this tremendous kind of release and relief because you're done. That's it. Now all you have to do is pack up your belongings and walk out the door. Kind of. Then you start this whole path into what I call mastery. It's the allowing of the wisdom. You're done, but before you leave, you got to allow in the wisdom, the master. Part of you, you're kind of in a conflict because part of you is like, I just want to get out of here. And I just want to go back into my sovereign domain. And part of you is like, "Ooh, yeah, I can be a human and a master. I can know everything. I can create anything I want. Maybe I'll stay around for a little while longer and see what that's about." But back to my point. You've never had destiny before. However, in this whole time from awakening into mastery, there is a destiny. There's a destiny. The destiny comes in several different ways, but first, the moment you say, "I'm done," the human, hear me, master, I am, the human is done with all this. The moment you say that, you are actualized. Actualized meaning it is done. All the integration, all the enlightenment, all the realization, you are actualized. Meaning that the moment you say that, there occurs in what I would call the potential. You would probably call it the future. But it is already done. It's there. So you are done with all of your lifetimes. You are actualized at that point. You are actually enlightened. Tobias said it way back, I think in your second or third series with him. He said, "You've already ascended. Now you just find out what it's like to get there." And to many, it's still an intellectual concept, but it's very, very true. You're already ascended. So that's done. There's nothing else you need to do. But the funny thing is that the human keeps thinking there's something else to do, that you haven't learned something, that there's a lesson, that there's a secret key that you have to find. None at all. None at all. So you're now, it's actualized, but you haven't actually realized it yet. In other words, you're still the human, still trying to do enlightenment, still trying to plan it and create it and guide it and manage it and everything else. You're gonna laugh at yourself one day, if not today, and say, "I just needed to get out of the way and allow it." But the human almost can't help themselves, so they have to keep working at it. And you do. I'm seeing these new, it's kind of a new phenomenon. It's called allowing mantras. I'm seeing Shaumbra go to bed at night. I allow, I allow, I allow. Like looking at him, going, "You're not allowing. Your sphincter is tight. You're back to your sphincter is tight. You're back to praying. You're back to all the rest of that. Just allow. You know how easy allowing is? Just allow. That's it. Jeez." There's a certain destiny that takes place, though. And I really didn't want to talk about it till now because you'd have gotten really upset with me about it or misunderstood it. But there's a beautiful destiny that takes place. The moment you say, "I'm done, last lifetime," and you go from awakening into mastery. The destiny now is that the master starts to come in. And the master, of course, I call it the master, but it's really wisdom. That's all it is. Wisdom of all the lifetimes and this. The master comes in and, in a sense, guides your life. In a way. The master comes in and will not allow things in your life that the human might have done. You see, the human so often is, their life is based on needs and wants. The human life is based on ego and identity. The human life is based on things like, I got to get a better paying job, I got to look younger, I got to do human things. And the master doesn't care right now. The master is blind. The master doesn't care. But the master comes in now in a way to form your destiny. You are going to make it into realization because you've opened, you've said, done with human lives, allowing to a degree of the master comes in. It's frustrating to the human at times because there's things you plan, you think are going to happen. There's things that the human says it needs, money, a partner, more energy. No, you don't need more energy. Well, not whatsoever. You just need to be more efficient with what you have. So the human would get into this whole thing now in planning and doing their life, and the master just, I don't want to say isn't going to allow it. The master plays interference and keeps that human from distracting itself during this time of going into mastery. That's why sometimes the things that the human wants don't work out. That's why the human gets very frustrated. Why isn't this working? I thought I was a creator. Not right now. I mean, you are, but right now, you put it out there. You made a choice to go into realization. And in a way, you could say you've signed an agreement with the master, with your wisdom, saying that you're going to let that master keep you from just going totally human right now. This is a very delicate time, very, very delicate. And it's a time where just a little bit of makyo can throw you way off the path. This is the time where the human starts to scream. What about this? What about that? I'm feeling awful. I don't know what to do. The master is not going to let you get distracted right now in a bad relationship or a bad job or any of that. So there is a destiny. It's one of the levels I was wondering if somebody would be aware of right now. I feel like almost like a magnet pulling me. I feel like that, there's something else controlling all of this, making all this happen. I don't know what it is or where it's coming from, but I feel that, and in a way I really like it, but in another way, damn it, it's interfering with my freedom. It's infringing on my freedom. Absolutely, it is, because you gave it permission. And by the way, that was a one-way permission. You cannot take it back. No, you can't. You can't say one day that you're going to give this permission, your last lifetime, give this permission for the master to really kind of guide your life right now. I mean, the master's not going to come in and give you money or anything like that, but the master will make sure you don't go off on these rabbit trails. You don't go off into some huge distraction. It's actually pretty beautiful when you think about it, when you feel into it. So there is a destiny that's occurring right now in a very beautiful way. There is that magnetic, something like it's just drawing you, it's just moving you through things. Some of you have had the experience lately that in a way you're trying to plan all this stuff and do all this stuff and it keeps falling apart and not working, and then when you just let go, something is guiding you along, and sometimes you want to say it's spirit guides or it's UFOs or whatever. It is truly the destiny of the soul. It's the master guiding you, making sure you don't get too distracted, and also that you don't kill yourself right now. That that you don't do something so hazardous as to jeopardize this beautiful new life that is coming into being. So I have to ask the question here, a couple of questions. There is the only other time you've had this sort of destiny in all of your lifetimes on Earth was when you first got here. First couple of lifetimes, there was kind of a destiny that you were going to integrate with matter. It was because you agreed to it. So there were some things that overrode what would be your human choices. This is the only other time that there is that soul destiny. And I say that because you're frustrated right now to some degree. Why isn't this working different? Why doesn't this work out when I try it? Stop for a moment. Commune with the I am, with the Master. They're helping guide you into the realization of what has actually already been actualized in what you would call the future, your realization. It's a beautiful thing, actually, in a way. You realize, I don't have to work at this. I just get to experience it. I don't have to fill it with a bunch of philosophy and macchio, and I don't have to worry about tomorrow. I don't have to worry what's going to happen next. I don't have to worry about it one bit. One bit. You're being guided. So I got to ask the question, just for fun. Where would you be right now if you didn't have this destiny, if it was all up to the human in realization? Where would you be right now? Linda, on the microphone, please.